Blah 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 blah. Oh, I forgot to turn on my words. My bad. Good evening, laddies, lasses, and lazos. Welcome to the click. You smell absolutely astounding today, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Today we're doing something absolutely beautiful. In my last r/insaneparents video, I teased a bit about the fact that I had found a lot of completely bonkers story about nightmarish in-laws. And that is exactly what we're doing here today. We're looking at nightmarish in-law stories, which is kind of like Insane Parents, but a bit of an offshoot. Isn't it beautiful? It's kind of like a tree of evolution, but it's all like Insane Parents content with various spice to it. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Mwah. The White Dress. This story is about my friend's mother-in-law and her wedding. Strap in, guys, and strap on. This is a wild ride in which I did the thing that got me banned from any of her family functions, plus a few threats of dismemberment and bodily harm. Okay, the white dress, let me guess, this is gonna be some like wedding shaming stuff, isn't it? A good friend of mine from university was getting married. They had been a couple since junior year of college, through her 2 years in the Peace Corps and currently her return to this continent. 6 years in total. She had been to all manner of family functions and always came back with a strange story about how she thinks her mother-in-law secretly hates her. But she, being a very quiet and sweet person, pushed those thoughts aside. Point 1. She is a vegetarian and Jewish. Husband is not. She was invited and went to Christmas dinner and figured she would just eat sides. As well as she brought a vegetarian casserole. Mother-in-law, after knowing her for 3 years and being told by husband a few weeks before about not to forget friend doesn't eat meat, proceeds to put meat in every dish. Ooh, yeah, this is that kind of passive aggression that is really hard to just brush off as a mistake, especially when it's so explicitly stated. Oh, nah. A friend drank water and ate her casserole the whole night while mother-in-law cried to everyone that friend was so rude for not eating her cooking. Oh, this seems so rigged, doesn't it? Like, especially if you're told ahead of time that, hey, this specific person is allergic or has some kind of dietary preference, and then you specifically cook that anyway and make a scene when they don't eat it, even if you know ahead of time they're not gonna eat it, but you still cook it specifically. Yeah, this is so rigged. This whole thing is a setup. Anyway, back to the story. A few friends and I were asked to be in the wedding. Friend has a huge family, and so this was not going to be a small affair. Neither of them is particularly religious, but friend said it would be nice to be married under a huppah. Husband said he could care less and told her to go and rent one for the wedding. I was at the bridal shower when mother-in-law found out the pretty canopy was actually a huppah. Oh no, the scandal. She almost lost her poo in front of a bunch of people, but managed to compose herself and laugh angrily that if the Jews were being represented, so would the Catholics. Oh no, is this gonna be like a religious war at the wedding? Oh, that's just good vibes all around, isn't it? In my head, I heard a record screech. Guys, they aren't even Catholic. Hey, my daughter-in-law is gonna have this thing at her wedding. I don't have anything that's equivalent to that or any kind of cultural background that will be equivalent, but I'm gonna have something anyway, just to compete with it, because this is the priority for me at their wedding. Man, at this point, I almost feel like there should be a subreddit about like r/insane grandparents or something like that. I mean, maybe they don't have kids yet, so technically it wouldn't be grandparents, but that would be a really funny subreddit, wouldn't it? So after much fighting, a lot of screaming, crying, threatening to pull money, which is funny because she contributed nothing. What do you mean threaten to take money away if you haven't contributed anything? What are you gonna take away someone else's money? That's just stealing. Mother-in-law lost. Yeah, I cannot imagine why. The boot was firmly placed and nothing was moving it. Huppah, yes. Catholic priest, no. Things got stupid quiet. My friends text me the night before the wedding that she has a bad feeling. I tell her it's probably just nerves and she is getting married. And this is a big deal. Oh, how wrong I was. We all show up, get our hair and makeup done, slip into our bridesmaid dresses, and hang out waiting for the bride to be finished with her hair. She makes a comment saying she hasn't seen mother-in-law all day, and that she skipped her hair and makeup appointment. This is not promising. Is this where like the title of this post comes into play? We all side-eyed each other, took a few sips of wine, and hoped the eerie feeling would go away. 30 minutes later, as we are helping the bride into her dress, guess who shows up? If you guessed mother-in-law, you win a cookie. Flushed from coming up the stairs, she is not a light woman, in full hair and makeup, and a white dress. Not ivory, not cream. Full snow heckin' white. The dress was clearly a wedding dress. It was even from David's bridal, which she would later shout at me. Floor-length sateen with a sweetheart beaded top, a bit of a train and of white lace on the bottom. Oh my god, it's a full-fledged massive wedding dress. No, that's not even when, you have someone show up in a dress that's like a little bit too similar to a wedding dress and it turns a bit cringe in the photos, right? This is so purposeful. You could not go more in that direction if you tried. I mean, I guess the only thing she could do extra is having one of those like little hangy things in front of your face, one of those ones. That's the only thing that is missing from this, to be like a perfect attempt at replacing the bridal attention. The dress was even tailored to her. This has been a long con that she has orchestrated. Yeah, if it's tailored, this is something she has probably planned for months. This is not a last-minute petty thing about a hoopah or something like that. She would have showed up with this dress no matter what else had happened, because if you want something tailored like this, you have to do it like a couple of months ahead of time, at least for like proper suits and stuff. I do as a dude on very rare occasion I need something fancy. But for a dress, I imagine it takes at least as long. So yeah, this is petty. That has been planned for at least 2 months. That is just so juicy. The bride burst into tears, and aunts and friends ushered mother-in-law out. We did our best to console the bride, touch up her makeup, and made her a promise that the dress would never be seen in a photo. She looked me dead in the eye and nodded. The game was on. That is so sad, man. Why do they feel the need to do this? Like, it's funny how ridiculous it is, right, reading it after the fact, but it must be so sad for the actual bride to, like, have your perfect day invaded in this way and show that someone that is supposed to be family is willing to spend obscene amounts of time and money just to ruin your day out of some petty feelings. That must suck so bad. The venue only supplied white wine and champagne for the wedding party, but I grabbed my purse and ran down to the reception area and managed to flag an attendant by the bar and bribe him with a cool $20 to give me a bottle of red early. Is this heading where I think it's heading? Oh yes, please head where I think it's heading. I cracked the baby open, filled the solo cup to the brim with it, and stalked outside. After a few swigs from the bottle for courage, I went over to where everyone was getting ready to take photos. Yeah, I guess with like fine attire and stuff and white wedding dresses, there's a reason why they only have white wine and champagne, because it doesn't stain as much, right? But now you have a sneaky cup of the good old red splashies. I wonder where that is going. With one last hard stare at my friend, I got her nod of approval. I pulled out my phone, held it in front of my face like I was reading a text, and walked straight into mother-in-law. I poured the entire cup of red wine down the front of her dress, jumped back, and gasped. Oopsie-daisy! The look on her face was murderous. She screamed, yelled, threatened, and promised she would sue me. You spilled the drink on my wedding dress. That wasn't even my wedding. I'm going to sue you. Well, that is great. I love this sort of people that threaten to sue for everything. That is always entertaining. People had to hold her back because she wanted to fight me. Yes, indeed. Can you imagine that? If, like, showing up in a wedding dress to someone else's wedding wasn't bad enough. How about a fist fight? By the altar. Yes, indeed. In a stained wedding dress. No matter, no less. Oh, that's gonna be some good old pictures for the wedding album. Eventually, she switched from screaming to sobbing and sank to the ground and threw a tantrum on the floor. Like when small children are on the floor and they're like, yeah, like that sort of tantrum. That's what I'm picturing, and it's very entertaining. Everyone moved back and just let her go at it and walked away to take photos. It was surreal, as if everyone just hit their limit and noped out from around her. The 12-year-old flower girl whipped out her phone and snapped a few photos, much to our amusement. Oh my god. That's like behind the scenes wedding album. This is already super long, but I will say that mother-in-law went home and changed, only 20 minutes from venue, into a nice dark green too small and low-cut dress. Because of this, she missed all the photos. Oh no, what a shame. Wedding was beautiful. I got death glares from everyone. She told that I attacked her with wine. No fricks were given, as I drank and danced with my friends. Bride thanked me in secret and 3 months later took me to the spa for a day of pampering. But I'm officially that ISIS C-word to mother-in-law, and I will take it with pride. Yes, sometimes in life, I have realized that if like a really bad person that is obviously a POS gives you like a nasty nickname, you can kind of wear it with pride, because if like you're an enemy of that person, that must mean you did something right. I am so happy this bride has you as their friend who's willing to be in their corner to this extent. That must be the best way to deal with that kind of stuff, right? Because you didn't even have to throw her out or anything. It's like, oops, she just happened to spill wine on you right before the photos. Oh, we'll just pretend you don't exist. Bye! It's such like a nice way to deal with it. Oh, I love it. Mother-in-law shows up after 25 years and expects to be accepted as a grandmother. That is a really weird level of entitlement. Alright, let's see where this goes. I am a single father. I have raised my son alone because when he was just a few days old, his mother suddenly decided she doesn't want a child anymore. She claimed she's not ready to have a child and refused to even feed him or hold him. I wanted to give her some time. I thought that maybe this is just postpartum depression or something. I was ready to be there for her, but she was serious. She packed her stuff and left the hospital. Her last words were that she never wanted to see neither me or our son ever again. I have never seen her since, and I kind of feel like mother-in-law had something to do with it, because during her pregnancy, she was talking all the time about how young her daughter is, and how inappropriate of a moment this is for her to have a child. Oh my god, that is awful. So I guess this mom had like some second thoughts to begin with, and then the mother-in-law just like fed into it. That is so nasty, come on. I don't have any proof, and I can't tell anyone for sure, but I feel like mother-in-law somehow secretly persuaded her to take this step for whatever reason. So I was left alone with an infant in my hands. It definitely wasn't easy. I was just 21 years old. That is really young parenting. Oh my god. I had to leave college and work very hard to give my son everything he needed. Fortunately, I wasn't completely alone. There were people who helped me get through the hardest period. People who babysat him while I was working, who gave me advice on how to take care of a baby, and I will be forever thankful for them. When he grew up a little, it became easier. I could send him to kindergarten and work without asking people to take care of him while I am not there. During all this time, I hope to hear from his mother. I hope that she will eventually come around and realize you can't just leave your child like a worthless piece of trash. But even though I had left her my contacts and she could call me or write me a letter or something, she didn't. I never heard from her. She never once used her rights to visit. When he was little, he often asked me why did his mother leave him? That is so heartbreaking. Why didn't she want him? Oh man, this is gonna make me like tear up for real, man. And I didn't know what to answer, because I always tried not to speak badly of his mother in front of him. Now my son is 25 years old. He's a hardworking, educated young man, and I am so proud of him, and I am proud of myself that I was able to raise him to be a good person. We stopped talking about his mother a long time ago. It was his initiative. He was like, well, if she doesn't want to be with us, then it's her loss and there's nothing we can do about it. Honestly, that's a very healthy attitude to have, and I suppose for him it's also the one that makes the most sense, right? Because he has actually never known her. It's not like he lost someone close to him. He actually never even met her, even knows what she looks like. So this is just a complete stranger to him that happens to share a few strands of DNA. So recently, mother-in-law appeared on our doorstep. Without a call, without any kind of notification. Okay, so after 25 years, she just shows up out of nowhere. No heads up or anything. Oh, this is gonna be juicy, isn't it? I couldn't believe my ears. And at first, I almost didn't recognize her. I mean, it makes sense. It's been 25 years. And she was behaving as if she was a caring grandmother who had come to see her grandchild like she does all the time. Yes, indeed. You know, some grandparents visit once a weekend or, you know, a couple of times a month or something. Or, you know, once every 25 years or so. You know, it just varies. It just varies a lot. You know, people are busy in time zones and stuff. Not like she was gone for 25 years. When my son saw her, he didn't recognize her either. I have shown him pictures of his mother and his grandmother just in case they show up one day. But I never really thought that they would. She ran up to him and hugged him just like a loving grandmother would. That is so weird. Can you imagine how weird this must be for the kid? I mean, I say kid, but he's 25 years old, you know. Imagine how weird it must be for him. This complete stranger who's claiming to be your grandma is just like, oh, let me hug you, young one. That's really weird. You're a stranger. He has never talked to you in his entire life. And I mean, neither have you, to be fair. I mean, you left when he was like, you know, a couple of days old. Dear God, woman. asking how he is doing and how big and beautiful he has become. I mean, yeah, I suppose there would be a bit of a difference because last time you met him, he was 2 days old and now he's more than 2 decades old, so makes a bit of a difference, doesn't it? And he pushed her away and looked kind of confused. I told him that it's his grandmother who has randomly shown up to visit him, and he was like, "Oh," and walked away from her. Mother-in-law didn't take this reaction very well. Oh, here comes the entitlement, doesn't it? She looked at me and was like, "What have you taught him if he doesn't even say hello to his grandmother? He is looking at me like I'm a stranger. Haven't you told him about his mother and me or shown him our pictures?" I mean, you are a complete stranger though, aren't you? You haven't spent a single second with this man, save like the moments in the hospital before you abandoned him forever when he was like, 48 hours old. I mean, you are a stranger, like literally. Well, technically you are a stranger, mother-in-law. He has never seen you in person, so why are you so surprised? You show up out of thin air after 25 years when he's all grown up and expect him to treat you with love. Isn't it kind of delusional? My son said, "Dad did show me your picture, but I needed no picture. I needed you to be there for me." He was quite hateful with her, throwing question after question at her, and the mother-in-law's responses were so incredibly narrow-minded. It looked like she wasn't expecting him to ask any questions. Man, that is something that I've seen repeated in these sort of stories, right? It's people like this that are incredibly entitled and would always quote things like, "Oh my god, blood is thicker than water," or whatever. And it's like, okay, but if blood really is thicker than water, why weren't you there for him for the last 25 years? Why is blood thicker than water only a one-directional thing? He asked her where his mother was, and mother-in-law was like, "Oh, she's not doing very well. She's living together with a great man, and she has 2 nice kids." That's a great thing to drop on you. Hey, your mom abandoned you and hasn't even contacted you for 25 years, but she was fine having other kids. Oh my god, what a great way to introduce yourself after 25 years. That must feel amazing. "She has gotten over that misunderstanding about your birth." Okay, I don't think I've ever heard anyone refer to someone's birth as a misunderstanding. That is like the wildest descriptor about this kind of stuff I've ever heard in my life. She was acting as if her daughter was the victim here, as if we were the ones who left her. He asked her why did his mother abandon him, and mother-in-law said, "Well, she was such a young girl. It would be craziness for her to have a child at that age. She had her whole life ahead of her and a baby would only be an obstacle. You must understand it. She didn't want to lose her freedom." Oh my god, does this person not hear themselves talking? Okay, so you have basically told this person, who's no longer a kid by the way, he's 25 years old, that the reason their mother didn't want anything to do with them, it's because they would only have been an obstacle, and she valued her own freedom. Okay, so she was a massive self-centered piece of shit, basically. I mean, that is part of the package when you have kids. You don't come first anymore, because now you have a little human that depends on you, who didn't choose to be put on this earth, and it's up to you, because this is your choice and your responsibility. I mean, that comes with having a kid. You can't just bring someone into the world and be like, "You know what, I'm just gonna abandon you because I just realized that my little freedom, and I like sleeping in on mornings, so your life is below that. Your life is below my sleepy Saturdays, okay? So bye." But 25 years later, when you're an adult and I don't have to change your diapers, now I can come back and you should love me. Because I love you. Somehow, I'm not showing the love, but I swear I love you in some way. And what about the mother-in-law? Does the mother-in-law have the same excuse? "I wasn't in your life for 25 years because I also appreciated my sleepy Saturdays." Ugh. Honestly, her daughter was older than me when our son was born. She was 24. Okay, and the dude was 21, which is, that's quite a bit younger, honestly. 24 is still, like, young, especially for this generation or whatever, but it's not, like, ridiculously young either. My god, man, this is absolutely wild. The level of entitlement is unreal. I don't think it's too early to have a child. It's not like she was 14 or something. Actually, age has nothing to do with it. I could have given up my son too. I was very young as well, but I didn't because I loved him, and I wanted to be his father. At this point, I wanted to show mother-in-law the door. Obviously, she wasn't welcome in her house, but my son stopped me. He had one more question. He asked why mother-in-law didn't want to be his grandmother. His mother left him, fine, but why did mother-in-law leave him too? Yeah, that's the other question. Okay, so the mother has the excuse like, "Oh my god, she liked her freedom too much, blah blah blah." But what about the mother-in-law then? Why wasn't she there to at least help out a little bit and babysit? Mother-in-law said, "Well, I had no time to take care of you. I was a young woman too." I had my life too, and grandkids are only obligated to take care of grandparents when they're old, and that's why I'm here. Okay, wait. So grandparents have no obligation to ever be invested in their grandkid's life or babysit or be there for him or whatever. Even if the parents abandon them, they have no responsibility whatsoever and they should never be there, not be interested, not show up for 25 years. But when they're getting old and cranky, the grandkid should be there for the grandparent that was never there for them. Ah, yes indeed, one-way street deluxe. Then my son told her to leave and never come back. He said he doesn't want to see her ever again, and he won't help her with anything. Yeah, that's absolutely wild. Abandoning your child and grandchildren and then come back 25 years later because now they're your, retirement insurance. Bruh. And as she was leaving, she attacked me like, "That's what I thought. A man alone cannot raise a proper human being." Are we getting into sexism territory here as well? "Such a rude and impolite boy. He would have turned out better in an orphanage than with you." So according to mother-in-law, the conclusion is don't have children while you're young, or if you do, feel free to leave them and then come back in a few decades, and they will love you, even though they have never received any kind of care from you. But seriously, what the hell was she expecting? Honestly, I think she just hoped that people would fold for the guilt tripping and stuff, right? It's like, oh my god, I'm so old and that kind of stuff. So, she woke up one day, realized she's getting older, she doesn't have that many people around her that are that close to her because she's obviously an insufferable person, and then she realized, wait a second, I have that extra grandson that is now 25 years old that I never met. I'm gonna cash in some good old favors from that one and, guilt trip them into taking care of me. That's probably what happened. This was like a weird, self-centered Hail Mary gamble to get someone to take care of you that you have never actually spent time with and hold some kind of family bond guilt trip over their head. So, yeah, very strange person indeed. Mother-in-law is arrested. This time by me. Trigger warning, violence and homophobia. Yesterday, I came in for my shift in the morning without thinking about mother-in-law at all. I got changed, had a cup of coffee, looked who I was going to be paired with, and when my partner and I walked out of the police station to go to the patrol car, I saw mother-in-law. She did kind of come up to me, not close enough for a conversation, but close enough so I could hear her. She started to say something about my boyfriend and the money she needs. I saw her, but I totally ignored her. I just walked past her without saying a word and went straight to the patrol car to start my shift. And the fact that I ignored her annoyed her pretty badly, I guess. She stepped back a bit, waited till we got into the car, and just before we turned on the engine and started to drive, she grabbed a rock from a nearby flower bed and threw it onto the windshield of our car. Oh my god, you're throwing rocks at a police car. Are you gambling that they're not gonna arrest you for this just because you're the mother-in-law of one of the persons in the car? Oh yeah, I'm totally gonna let my mother-in-law throw rocks at my police car. Oh man. The windows of our patrol cars are quite durable, fortunately. It cracked but didn't shatter, and I didn't end up with a face full of glass. Yeah, that kind of stuff is quite dangerous. I wasn't driving, my partner was driving, and it was obvious that she aimed her throw right at the passenger seat where I was at. Then she probably realized that doing that to a police car in front of two police officers in front of a police station wasn't the smartest thing to do. And she turned around and took off running. Ah, yes indeed, because no one knows her identity. You can get away with it. Run, dear mother-in-law, run! I got out and ran after her. This pursuit wasn't very long. She only made it to the park that's not far from the police station when I caught her. And that's when she started to make the biggest scene I have ever seen. Mother-in-law had no intention of calmly letting me put handcuffs on her. Instead, she dropped to the ground and started to yell for help. Mind you, it was an early morning, but there were already quite a lot of people in the park. Some were just walking their dogs, some were jogging, some were just walking through to get whatever they needed. She was yelling at the top of her lungs, "People! Good people! Help me, I'm being abused! Call the police! Not the one here. This one is not a real police officer. He's trying to kidnap me!" And things like this. She was yelling for help so loudly that everyone in the park stopped whatever they were doing and looked at us. Everyone. Men, women, children, dogs, and cats. Oh, it's bad when even the cats are looking. There was not a single person that wasn't looking at us. You might think that I'm a man and she's a woman, so I should be able to hold her down. But it's really not that simple. She was hitting and scratching and biting. She was spitting at me. Also, during the struggle, she kicked me several times. Quite hard and painful. Obviously, at this point, I had all the rights to tase her, but I didn't. My partner came with the car. He helped me, and together we managed to handcuff her. And at that point, I also guess her little scene-making and screaming and huffing doesn't have as much of an oomph to it, because, yeah, sure, he could have faked the uniform, I guess, but do you also fake a police car? And another police partner, that kind of stuff, it gets a bit more unlikely, doesn't it? The next problem was getting her into the patrol car. Our patrol cars are like vans. The back door opens and there's like a cage with a bench where you can put the person in. And mother-in-law wasn't going to get in there without a fight. Even with her hands cuffed, she was kicking the door, spread her legs very wide so that we couldn't get her in. And when we got her in, she was putting her feet in the doorway so we couldn't close the door. While she was doing all of this, she never stopped to yell that we're breaking her bones, that we have no rights to treat her like this, and this is against the law, and still asking the people to call the real police. Yes, indeed. It's against the law to arrest someone that throws rocks at cars. Great. During my whole career as a cop, I never had an arrest like this. I have arrested many drunk people, many aggressive people, many weird people. But this right here was the stupidest thing ever. We took her to the police station, and if we had troubles getting her in the car, now she didn't want to get out. She held on to the bars, and we literally had to grab and pull her out. Once inside, mother-in-law immediately demanded to see the captain. She wasn't listening when we tried to explain that the captain isn't going to do anything for her and shouldn't be bothered with this. She's literally pulling the "I wanna talk to the manager" when she gets arrested for throwing rocks at police cars. Oh, this is just Karen galore, isn't it? She insisted that she had the rights to see someone superior, and technically she's right. So we went to get a captain for her who recognized her from the last time and wasn't too happy to see her. She has an entire track record. I guess the story is part 2 of something else that has already happened. Oh no! So everyone in the police station already knows her. You're not gonna have much luck with like, "I wanna speak to the manager" when you're already an infamous troublemaker. Mother-in-law said that she wants to complain about this officer while pointing at me. She said that I abused my power, used way too much strength on her, and didn't even care that she's a fragile woman. That I twisted her hands and brutally pushed her into the car. I hate people like this. I think the best term for people like this are cry bullies, right? They are always the one who throw the first punch. They're always the one to keep punching, keep making things difficult, always escalating, always attacking, but then they always turn it around in the end and be like, "I'm actually the victim, even though I initiated the whole thing and I'm the only one who's ever been aggressive." You know, it's, I hate those kind of people. Cry bullies are the worst. The captain asked to see my body camera. And everything is filmed as well. Oh my god. This is one of the reasons why we use body cameras all time. If the suspect says one thing and the officer says something different, then you can watch the recording and see what actually happened. So the captain played the recording for all the present to see, and he asked mother-in-law, "What's this, ma'am?" as she was clearly ignoring my orders on camera. Mother-in-law was like, "This is me fighting for my life. It's a survival instinct." So is throwing rocks at police cars. That's always a survival instinct in this case. "I thought he would take the gun and shoot me right in the head." The captain was like, "No, ma'am. This is you resisting arrest. If an officer is giving you a lawful order, you're supposed to listen. And if you don't listen, the officer has the right to use a certain amount of force to detain you." Mother-in-law said, "I take no orders from F-slurs." While glaring at me. Oh, she's really making a good case for herself. Oh my god. So the captain is like, "You have to obey these kind of things when we tell you to." And she's like, "No, I won't, because of this F-slur." So you admit to not obeying it, and the body cam also shows you not obeying it. You're not making a great case for yourself, are you? Why are these people always so stupid as well? It's amazing. She was charged with vandalism, fleeing from the police, resisting arrest, and assaulting an officer. And just as she was going to be taken to jail, mother-in-law suddenly started to complain that she's not feeling well. She said her heart hurts and she's dizzy and her blood pressure is too high and she wanted an ambulance. Everyone realized that she's faking. But just to be sure we're not mistaken and doesn't die when arriving at jail, we called an ambulance. The medics came and examined her, and just like we thought, she was fine. Her heart rate was normal, blood pressure was normal, she had no need to be hospitalized. I was thinking, what do you think would have happened, mother-in-law? The charges don't disappear just because the person is taken to a hospital. She probably didn't know that even if she was hospitalized, an officer would have gone there with her and stayed with her the whole time. I wonder if she was planning some kind of escape plan. You know, go to the hospital and be like, "Oh my god, I need to go to the bathroom," and then just book it and make a run for it. But everyone everyone already knows who you are. Like, are you gonna go on the run and become like a total outlaw hermit or something like that? Like, man, this whole thing is so stupid. It's amazing. And as soon as she was okay again, she would be transported to jail anyway. She wouldn't sneak away if that's what she was thinking about doing. The ambulance left, and even though our captain is a very calm and composed man, at this point he seemed very irritated. He was like, "Ma'am, is the circus over, or are you going to give us more nonsense?" Mother-in-law then asked him if he was going to punish me, and he answered that no, he is not going to punish an officer simply because I was doing my job. And then mother-in-law looked straight at him and went, "Are you gay too?" Oh my god, is this her conspiracy about the gay agenda? The gays are infiltrating the police force and jailing all our good straights or something like that, or our good mother-in-laws. Is this the conspiracy that's going around? Oh my god, that's amazing. I froze. I couldn't believe that she really just asked that to a captain. I know that he is not gay, but this was probably the most inappropriate thing she could have done. He knows I am gay because I was forced to come out to him when mother-in-law tried to cause troubles for me the first time. He ordered her to be taken to jail immediately, and even then she still had the audacity to speak. She insisted on having a phone call so she could call her son and he could pay her bail. Her son, which husband or boyfriend, whichever marital status they have, is currently arresting you because you were throwing rocks at him and kicking him and biting him and all that kind of stuff. I see. Very nice. Is he also an F-slur, your son, in that case? Yeah? Is he gonna see the recordings as well? That would be interesting to see. I'm not sure why she thinks my boyfriend is going to bail her out this time when he didn't do it last time. I called him first to tell him that his mother is arrested, and he seemed quite delighted as he's so tired of her. The captain offered my boyfriend to come to the station and see the recording if he wants, but we really don't want to show ourselves as a gay couple more than absolutely necessary. Mother-in-law did call my boyfriend and he refused to bail her out, so she'll have to stay in the cell till her trial. Since she already has a record, I'll be surprised if she's not given jail time this time around. Oh my god, it's like frick around and find out galore, but it's also like frick around repeatedly and keep finding out. Like, okay, you frick around a bit, you find out, okay, but then you're like, what? I found out? I better frick around some more. This finding out is not appropriate for me. Frick around more, find out more. What the frick? I found out even more when I fricked around more. Better triple down on that fricking around. What? I found out even more? What? This is like when you have fricking around finding out, but it's like an exponential curve, I swear to God. Suing my mother-in-law for defamation after giving birth to my first child. So now it's someone actually getting sued. It's not just a mother-in-law threatening to sue someone, as they very commonly seem to do in these kind of subreddits. Now it's someone actually getting sued. Isn't that juicy? Hello, everyone. I am currently recovering from having my firstborn, and thought this would let some of my frustrations out about the whole situation. For context, I am 26F and my husband is 29M. We have been married for about 2 years. Honestly, his mother-in-law wasn't too bad in the beginning. She wasn't a super nice person, but my husband said she was always like this. She was always neutral when it came to me. Not happy, not sad, not mad. This changed when I got pregnant. It also was when we had moved a few states away. This was not planned. We weren't trying to get pregnant, and my job sent me to live in Washington. So we moved there, and then I found out I was pregnant. Husband and I were elated, and with my new job and savings I have been building, we decided to keep the baby. We told his family after the second trimester, since I have a heart condition and some other chronic illnesses that made the first trimester difficult for me. It was emotionally and physically tiring, and I was constantly terrified of losing the baby. But we made it, and my doctors felt more confident, so we told our families over FaceTime. My husband's family was ecstatic. This would be their first grandchild. Father-in-law especially was excited. He's the sweetest man. But mother-in-law, for the first time, shared her own opinion. She did not like it. She said, "If you knew you were having a baby, why did you move so far away?" She accused me of moving closer to my family, so I would cut off my husband's family. My husband told her that we didn't know about the pregnancy when we moved. It just happened at the same time. It put a bit of a damper on the mood of the FaceTime, and we ended it early. Yeah, this is certainly not the time and the place to bring this up, you know. I could totally see the parents, do it one-on-one with the son in that case and be like, "Oh, hey there, can we plan stuff to make sure sure we can still see the grandchild often even though we live a bit further away now. Stuff like that. Make it positive, This is just accusatory and weird and really at the wrong time. That's not the way to do it. Husband and I were both shocked at mother-in-law's behavior, but brushed it off. Again, she never did anything drastic to make me think she hated me or anything. Over the next week, she sent us email after email about houses back in our old state, trying to get us to move back. Husband told her many times that we can't move. My job is here, and I have to be in person 4 days a week. We have found a wonderful house, and even though we weren't planning on having any children yet, this house is perfect for us. Mother-in-law then started sending houses and apartments to only my husband. 1 bed, 1 bath? No way. She's literally being like, hey, after the baby is born, snag that child and move back here closer to us and leave your literal wife so I can be closer to the grandchild. Instead of like compensating and, go visiting or that kind of stuff, or having them visit you over the weekends or whatever. Like any kind of positive resolution that would probably be pretty easy because everyone is like a functional adult, Nope. You should break off everything and move back alone and be a single parent because I want to be closer to my grandchild because this is really about me. Main character looking ass. Telling him that he could get one of these and bring her baby to them while I work. What the actual hell? My husband shut that down super fast, saying his life was here now and we wouldn't be moving back. This behavior went on, but we ignored it, especially when we found out the baby might have my same heart condition. I had to go into to do a fetal echocardiography, nailed that one, to check, and the stress started to give me palpitations. I was kept in the hospital for a few days for observation and then sent home. My husband was my rock during this time. Words cannot explain how much this man made me feel safe and cared for. This is probably why he didn't tell me of the continuing behavior of mother-in-law, which I don't blame him for. He was also working more, making sure our move was going okay, and also the emotional stress of the whole pregnancy. During this time, mother-in-law started sending baby stuff to our house. All male-gendered, even though we told her we weren't going to do a gender reveal or anything. I think all that stuff is tacky, and I'm not premeditating my baby's room or toys or clothes by their sex. Plus, the stuff she sent was ugly as hell anyway. Time went on, and I got better. My baby will most likely have my same heart condition, but the doctor said that any care or treatment can wait until post-birth. They're not worried about it this time. Mother-in-law started posting on Facebook how her baby was in danger because of my poor health and accused me of intentionally trying to ruin the baby's life. But you're not even the one giving birth to. What do you mean your baby? I'm not on Facebook, and neither is my husband, so we didn't know about this. Oh my god, the classic Facebook slander, Jesus Christ. Well, my due date comes and goes and my baby doesn't want to come out, so I am induced into labor. People say you forget how bad childbirth is, and I don't know when that happens, but I hope it's soon, because god damn, it was traumatizing. I won't go into detail, but both my husband and I were relieved when it was over. Because of my stay in the hospital, she knew which location I would be giving birth at. Once she knew I was being induced into labor, she got on a plane and showed up at our house. I mean, so that was pretty easy to come visiting after all, right? Why the fuss about moving and trying to literally split the parents up for your sake to see the grandchild? You had the possibility to visit whenever you wanted. It wasn't that hard, was it? She called my husband over and over again, but he never answered because he was busy becoming a father. That's when she showed up to the hospital at 3 in the morning looking for us. She is giving massive stalker vibes. Oh my god, she's literally trying to claim that it's her baby. She's being obsessive about literally where you're staying in the hospital, flying over to be harassy during the childbirth, and then when you're not answering because you're, I don't know, literally busy giving birth, then she comes to the hospital uninvited at 3 in the morning. And on top of that, she's also running slander campaigns on Facebook. This is very much like stalker vibes that go on these massive smear campaigns when they don't get what they want. But it also happens to be family, so double yay. Luckily, she wasn't able to get into our area because we were close to the NICU, and there is extra security there. Oh, that is thankful. They probably have that for infection reason, that kind of stuff. A lot of departments and hospitals do that because people aren't supposed to just go in and out, unannounced, and strangers and that kind of stuff. She called my husband again, and when he answered, she started yelling at him, telling him that she missed the birth of her baby. Oh, this whole thing is so icky, man. I feel uneasy reading this. And that she will never forgive me for this. What do you mean forgive you for giving birth to To like your baby? Okay, wow. She did not mean ruin, she was in the hospital. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but anyway. Husband was exhausted and just told her that he would call her back later. Husband went downstairs to get coffee and saw her. She demanded to see the baby, and when he said no, she freaked out again, claiming I was breaking the family apart. She said I purposefully got pregnant as we moved, so I trapped us in Washington, and basically unloaded all her thoughts and opinions about me throughout our entire relationship. Aw, now it's all coming out, baby. Booyah, the best time in the hospital, while induced into labor. Yippee! Husband told her to go home and that he will talk to her later. Okay, this is a bit of a side tangent, right? But I feel in life, one really good way to gauge the quality of various relationships is how people act when you're going through something difficult. One example in this case is obviously like childbirth with some complications to it. Does this person actively make it more difficult and make it about themselves? Yeah, then it's a pretty bad relation. This person adds nothing but stress. When these kind of people around you actively make an already difficult situation even more difficult for no reason, then you know it's bad news, because it's not going to stop. They're going to do this again when stuff like this happens the next time. It's only manageable when everything is going well and there isn't anything like bad going on that they can turn themselves into the main character over, right? I had a girl. Ooh, so all like the boy gift she sends are like out, ooh, oh my, that's not going to be good. And both my husband and I love her so much. We got our own supplies and clothes, and we donated the stuff mother-in-law bought us. I mean, yeah, makes sense. We both stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks. In that time, mother-in-law posted on Facebook like it was her job. She found pictures of babies with different ethnicity and posted them, not saying outright that I cheated on my husband, but letting other people think that. Oh my god, that is absolutely insane. Imagine that, just downloading Google stock photos and posting them on Facebook, insinuating your daughter-in-law cheated, and be like, yeah, look at this, all people on Facebook, like, oh my god, that's so outrageous, she's ruining your family, blah, blah, blah. So you're also kind of admitting to it not being your child in that case, like at least genetically, right? If that was true, you would actually have nothing to do with this child, you know? So it's kind of like it's kind of a weird thing to lie about, you know? If you want to have more claim to this child, this is like kind of the opposite, isn't it? Like she had a baby with someone else that isn't even your son. I mean, it would still be like bad cheating, don't get me wrong, but it would probably make you further away from the whole thing. Right? This is the weirdest thing to lie about for every reason. When husband and I took our baby girl home, that's when everything caught up to us. One of mother-in-law's posts went viral. No. When she asked for advice on how to claim guardianship of a grandchild if they're being abused by their parent. Oh my god. Yeah, this is just an online slander campaign. At this point, there is no other way to put it. Like, legit lawyers commented links and messaged her. People asked for her address to call CPS. Okay, this is very good. This is why it's very important to, like, fact-check stuff online. This is one of the main reasons I very often hide names and that sort of thing when I do my videos. Like, it's very easy to, like, take a story like this, for example, and discuss it under the umbrella of anonymity, right? Because then you can make the assumptions about it, and if it happens that, oh, someone lied in a story like this, you're not showing any names, you're not encouraging anyone to go out anywhere, there's no possible to track something like it, right? It's for the purpose of discussing the topic, but the specific people in the story will kind of be disconnected from it IRL. It's a very important thing that I've tried very hard to implement when I make these sort of videos and read these sort of stories. And examples like this is why I do it. People lie sometimes, people twist stories, and keeping it anonymous is just good for everyone's safety. And even if stories like this were truthful, like take for example if this grandma in this question, this mother-in-law, had been truthful, it can still bring some real whack jobs into the picture that is not going to help. Even if she was correct about this kind of stuff, and, you know, it would be good to get the child out of the household, very hypothetically talking here, by the way, it could still get people to show up on the doorstep that are just violent, that will try to, like, kidnap the baby, and all kinds of wild shit. So, you know, this kind of stuff can bring some real whack jobs onto stories where they don't know enough about it and don't have good intentions. So, yeah, no, she's absolutely unhinged, and she is either doing this purposefully and maliciously, or she very much underestimates the danger of what she's actually doing. Once they researched her profile page, they found my husband and I. They found his work, they found my work, my family's business. Yelp reviews were tanked, and the police did end up coming to our house. I had been home from the hospital for 4 days. I had only had 4 days with my baby. My husband dealt with everything, and my cousin is a counselor for an attorney and is going to help us find a lawsuit against her for defamation. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing to do. Sue her for everything she is worth. What an absolutely garbage person. I am so exhausted and overwhelmed with this information. I am in therapy, mental and physical. My therapist said it's good to write down what happened and how I am feeling. I don't even know if I'll post this or for how long it will be able to stay up. I love my husband, I love my baby, but this entire experience has made me so depressed. I don't know why she did this. I don't know what changed. But this is going into like some hypothetical territory, of course, so take it with a grain of salt. But I have had experiences in the past in my life where people very drastically escalate when there is like a very deciding event. It can be, for example, someone breaking up, it can be the birth of a child, it can be someone quitting a job, it can be, anything that is like a drastic life change. And people just completely explode. You can usually tell with these sort of people that something is like bubbling under the surface. It's that vague feeling of walking on eggshells. And once this event happens, it's like, bam, something triggers, and like the whole full-blown thing just explodes. And in this case, it's this like slander campaign and weird obsession from your mother-in-law. And this reminds me very much of a similar experience I had on YouTube. Just different context. It didn't have to do with family, it just had to do with work. But still, it turned out to be a very similar thing, and the person acted in a very similar manner. It's like eerily close in that way. So with these sort of people, at least if it's somewhat similar, I don't think it is that something changed like that. It's more like they were always like this, and this is a triggering event for them that makes them act out completely, like all the guardrails are off, if you will. I hope everything works out fine. It sounds like you have a very good case and you have people around you that are there for you. Your family is supportive, your husband is completely on your side, your baby is healthy. I wish you the best of luck. I hope this passes soon and that you can have a very nice and comfortable future with your family very soon, because this must be so stressful and so bad. Jay and mother-in-law announced she will be coming over at 2. But I have a stripper pole in my living room, lol! This is happening as I type this. I am currently at work until 2:30 and my boyfriend is home. His mother texted him that she and father-in-law will pass by at 2 and bring lunch. Boyfriend immediately texted me, "Babe, the stripper pole!" So I'm at work laughing, imagining the absolute horror on their faces when they walk in. The first thing they see is my shiny, beautiful stripper pole. Did I mention that they are very Christian? I am talking the worst kind. Nothing against Christians, but I don't like extremists of any form, and they use their faith to hurt people. So I texted back, "Frick it, it's our house, they will have to live with it." I will definitely update. Update 1. This update has nothing, but I realized I need to let y'all know that I'm still alive, cause in case y'all kill me, lol. So I just got off of work. I'm on my way home. I texted my boyfriend earlier asking how things are going. And he hasn't replied or even read my text, so your guess is as good as mine. More to come. Update 2. Oh my god! I'm in my bedroom typing this. I get home and I open the door. "Tell me right now, boyfriend is lying." Me, "What?" "She said that he wants to be a stripper." My boyfriend can't contain himself and just turns red and dies of laughter. And I'm standing in my doorway wide-eyed, confused as frick. I just said, he's lying. I'm gonna go change. And I run into my bedroom and now I'm typing this. I wish I was more clever on my feet, damn it. Well, anyway, I can hear her asking him why we have it and I can hear him still laughing, lol. More to come. Update 3. I exit my room. Mother-in-law and father-in-law are just staring at my pole. First thing out of her mouth. "If you're tight on money, we can help you. You don't need to do this. It's disgusting. And boyfriend shouldn't be allowing it." Me. "I'm not a stripper. We're good on money. It's a good exercise." I'm guessing they do like pole dancing, right? It's not like actual, stripper stuff. It's just pole dancing, which is a good exercise. Father-in-law. "Then go for a run. That's a stupid exercise. There's so many other things you can do." Have you seen pole dancing competitions? It's not stripping, I swear, it's super cool. Boyfriend proceeds to go on YouTube and pulls up a video. Silence. Father-in-law. "Wow!" Turns to me. "Can you do that?" Updating soon. I think they might want to see me dance. Lol. Last update. Okay, this went full 180, and honestly, we had a lot of fun. We took some time to talk about some issues from the past. That is really wholesome, and if I'm up for it, I'll make a separate post. But for now, it seems as though my in-laws are trying to apologize and make amends. After the initial shock and a few videos later, they are now little curious children, completely intrigued about the possibilities of the pole. Trademark. So I showed them. I did a few tricks, and mother-in-law was shrieking in delight. Ooh! She was so impressed. And then father-in-law, I can do that! Cue father-in-law trying to pole dance and killing it, might I add. Mother-in-law was looking at him like he was a snack. It was so funny. BF and father-in-law even got into a little competition on who can do the best tricks. After that, my boyfriend pulled out the VR headset and we had them play a bunch of scary games and video games. This is so good! Oh my god, this is like family bonding galore. You know, having some difficulties on Rocky Road and different beliefs in the past, and now everyone coming together doing pole dancing tricks and VR horror games. Hell yes. Finally, they got ready to leave, and they told us they had a great time. I still don't trust them, but they were completely different people from the past, and we both get the feeling that they're really trying. I think my boyfriend setting them in their place finally got it through their head that their actions were ruining their relationship with us. We are staying hopeful but cautious. Thank you all for following along and for the enthusiasm. It made me smile so much. This is such a fun story. Oh my god, I really hope your relationship with the in-laws goes well, because it does sound like there have been issues in the past and they have been uptight about things, you know, which is fine if you don't personally like something or you're prude about certain stuff, but the moment it becomes like, you know, trying to control that over others is when it becomes invasive and relationships become really strained. So this sounds like a really good step in the right direction. I hope it keeps going that way. Hell yeah, what a nice story to round this off on. Well, laddies, lasses, and lassos, I do hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed having you here, and let me know if you want to see more stuff like this in the near future. Other than that, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day because you deserve it, and I will see you in the very near future. Take care. Mwah.